Space debris is the result of humans launching objects from Earth which remain in orbit. In a world where space activity is ever increasing, these pose a risk of collision, which could cause the disruption of critical services that we rely on every day. The UK Space Agency is driving the safe and sustainable use of space and raising awareness of the fragility of its infrastructure. Ray Fielding, the head of space sustainability, joins me now.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Ray. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, can you tell me, how big is the problem of space debris?
The problem's growing. We as humanity has been operating in space now for nearly 70 years. Whereas back in 1957, there was only one thing in space near Earth, which was the moon. Now we're tracking over 36,000 items, and they're just the ones we can track. The ones we can't track, we think there's an even higher number in the hundreds of millions. And the items which we're tracking range from whole defunct satellites to tools which have been dropped by astronauts, or even chunks of paint which have come off satellites. And that might not sound like much of a threat, but when you have a piece of space debris which is traveling at over 17,000 miles an hour, if they impact a satellite, they can do some serious damage, if not destroy the entire satellite.
The UK's first space debris removal mission is planned for 2026. But what will this entail?
Yeah, this is a really exciting mission, and it's a first of its kind mission for the UK Space Agency. So what we're going to do is we're going to send a satellite into orbit, which has the ability to grab hold of another satellite, which is a defunct dead satellite, and remove that satellite completely from orbit, removing the risk that it poses to other satellites and to other operations in space. And then we're going to do the whole thing again. So this is repeatable and sustainable, and this is a world-first mission. No other country is doing this kind of mission at the moment.
One of the key goals of the National Space Strategy is building sustainability into space activity. But what is the UK doing to achieve this goal?
So we're doing three main chunks of activity. One is standards and regulation, because if you can prevent space junk from being caused in the first place through responsible regulation and standards, you rapidly decrease the size of the problem. We're trying to protect the Earth's orbital environment by space situational awareness and providing that data to mission operators, and also missions such as the active debris removal mission to remove large pieces of space debris. And we're trying to promote across the international forums such as the European Space Agency and the United Nations that this is a problem. The world shares this problem. Space doesn't just start and stop above the UK, and we need international consensus and agreement to be able to tackle it together successfully.
Now, we've heard of an Astra Charter for space sustainability. What is this, and how does your work fit into it?
So the Astra Charter is an initiative led by His Majesty the King. And what it intends to do is embed sustainable working practices into private industry. So when they start to increase their activities in space, they do so in a sustainable way.
What do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities for sustainable space now and in the future?
One of the biggest opportunities for us, especially as a nation, is the ability to use space for benefit. So we can grow industry, we can grow access to space, and that has a trickle-down effect on societal benefit. Space data services, we can increase those and grow those and use as economic benefit for everybody. But I think one of the biggest challenges is time. We are with space sustainability where we are perhaps with climate change 30, 40 years ago, and the time really is to act now before the problem becomes unmanageable and before the problem becomes too late to treat. We need to embed sustainability into working practices in space. Currently, there's no international regulation which says satellite operators must move out of the way of other satellites, for instance. And you could have the situation where you have two satellites heading towards each other and operators refuse to move, which creates space debris, leads to more space debris incidents as the debris clouds spread out. Not removing satellites in time can also impact the orbital environment, which takes up space, and also adds to the clutter up there and potentially removes humankind's access to space in the future. Ideal position for space debris is not to create it in the first place, and an international consensus which treats the current problem with space debris would be a great thing to aim for. There's over 30,000 pieces of large-scale pieces of debris, It's too much of a challenge for any one nation to tackle by itself. But similar to the world's oceans, it's all of our collective responsibilities. And if we could come together to do something about it, I think that'd be a great thing to go forward with.
Thanks so much for joining me today, Ray.
You're welcome.